Here I'm back with my sweater. In the last video I showed you how to separate for sleeves and body. I just want to continue and finish the sweater, and meanwhile I decided to show you also how to pick up the sleeve stitches. From the previous video we left the sleeve in this state. Now we will pick up stitches and we need to find where we finished our crochet row with scrap yarn, and we need to find the end and let's open the end. It's not the end but comes from the underarm stitches, but this is the end where we stopped. And when we pull, unravel the yarn, it comes off very quick, very easily. We take the same, I use the same size knitting needles, 3.5 millimeters, my favorite Jago knitting needle set. And now we start to pick up stitches. It might look a little bit uncomfortable because you will be picking up from the wrong side, but there should not be an issue, because you would only have to look to put the knitting needle purlwise when picking up the stitches. So when you will be knitting on the knit side, they are correctly molded onto the knitting needle already. Now we undo the stitch one at a time. And inserting knitting needle purlwise into the stitch, collect all the stitches from the scrap yarn onto the knitting needle. Okay, I continue doing it until I get to the underarm stitches. Almost all the stitches from the sleeve I collected on the knitting needle. Here is the last stitch left before the hole. You can do it let's do it carefully, like so. Now what I want to do, I want to take a stitch marker and put it to separate the armhole stitches from the actual sleeve. When you do that, you will see that underarm, here is this little half stitch left. We also count this, okay? As from the previous example in previous video, we decided actually I decided together with you that I will leave 12 stitches for the underarms. And now I need to pick up from the scrap yarn. Don't forget this stitch as well. It will look funny, but we will need this too. Now three, so 1 2 3 4, So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12. And this half stitch sort of like, which will make number 13. So in total, here will be 13. It's almost like an extra stitch because this half stitch sort of like is in half between, and it's actually the stitch we created, extra stitch, and we will decrease them later. I would like to take a second marker and put it after I picked up all the armhole stitches to mark the beginning of the round. So now finally we move on to the knit side so we can start knitting comfortably. As I said, I want to decrease all these stitches. What I will do, I will, in general, knit together the last stitch of the armhole with the first stitch from the sleeve. This way I will decrease every second round by 1 stitch. But in this round I will show you how to close this hole to become it almost invisible. Okay, I move the marker. Actually, you can tell the beginning of the round by this yarn tail, but just for the clarity, I leave. So I just simply add a new yarn. I will hide the yarn tails later, and I knit until I get to the marker. You can do different ways when you get to the hole. I will just explain you the main technique. How can you close? You see, this hole is by created because we had some extra space between the stitches. So the way how we do this is we try to find and pick up the strand which could help us to eliminate this hole. Let's try to find. You see this last stitch we knitted, and this stitch is getting loose and with big hole, and here also in between, here is the row, these are the 2 rows, and in between here is the bar. I just find a solution. Each time may be different a little bit, but the main technique how it's done should be clear. Let's find what is responsible for this strand to be so long. For example, it is here, and we pick up the bar. Let's first just put them on the needle, and let's see if we knit them together, will it close the hole or not. Here will be a little bit, therefore this we mount so we can knit it twisted, the first this stitch, and when we knit 2 together, because on this side we want to lean to the right side decrease, right leaning decreases. Okay, knit 2 together, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, 14 stitches, because we picked up sort of 2 stitches and knit them together, but we can decrease them later. And now we move the marker, move onto the sleeve stitches, and let's try to knit the first 3-4 stitches tighter than usual. And as you can see, the hole is almost invisible. Now when we come to an end of the row and we need to do something similar on the other side, I will knit all those stitches, and when I get to the end I come back and then we will have a look what we can do on the other side. If you are still here, please support this video and my channel by pressing like and subscribe. Thank you. Now I am at the end of the first round. Knit the last sleeve stitches, get to the beginning of the round. Okay, I'm using the magic loop, so I find the middle somewhere there. Now, what can we do about it? We have a big gap here. It will be when we will just continue knitting. So in my case, I will also pick up one bar between those stitches and here. Yeah, let's see how does it work. Okay, let's move them like so and see what can we do. If we just knit through the back loop twisted, so they are twisted with left leaning decrease, does it help? Well, sort of helps, so yeah. So basically this is how you try to find those loose strands and knit them together, maybe sometimes with twisted stitches. But we have to remember that this extra stitch we created here goes to the armhole stitches. You could also in the same row do 3 stitches decrease, but because I have simple stockinette stitch sweater, doesn't matter will I decrease 1 row later or 2 rows later, so it will not make such a big difference. If you have some pattern, you just have to decrease them immediately. So now I decreased, sort of left leaning decrease. Here is our attached tail. Just the first stitches I try to make it very tighter than usual I knit them. This is how it looks. And when you are at the beginning, you know, if you still are not happy with the result, for example here I hope after blocking and then you wash it will be almost invisible, but this yarn tail I also can use it to close, to pick up stitches from the back, you know, like here, and just to close in the middle also works. So basically you have to try and see what works best. This is what I always do. I don't see a problem, it's almost invisible every time. Now we do our round without well, basically we can decrease in this round as well, just to get rid faster of this extra stitch, and then we would decrease every second row. But now let's decrease on this row as well. For example, I would decrease 1 stitch from the armhole, so when I come, I might not need that marker now. So I want right leaning decrease, so I need two together, and I move the marker because I already got rid of 1 underarm stitch. And those underarm stitches, let me show you. Let me show you on the other side quickly. In my case, I decrease them, you see, like so, every second row, until there will be stitch left. I could decrease it on either side, but I decided to leave it. It's matter up to you. How can you, how would you like your knitting to look, your underarm? I'm at the end of the second round. And what I will do, I will knit these two stitches, one from the sleeve, one from the underarm, with left leaning decrease. I mount the stitches so they are like for twisted stitch. So the right leg is behind the needle, and I knit them through the back loops, two together. And I've got left leaning decrease. Place the marker back. Maybe here, when you finish and want to hide the yarn tails, I will show you how you can close this unpleasant, maybe if you don't like it. I would find these pearl bumps and get my needle under those bumps and try to tighten up and see how they work. And maybe this one, and maybe I find I go like sort of go around the stitch, around the clock. Then you see when you tighten up here, the stitch is also tighten up. But now what I want to do, I really want to find here maybe I go on the right side and see what maybe here can be done something. Something like this, and then the hard yarn tail at the back. This is what I usually do. I don't say that's the only correct way. Maybe you found some other techniques how you can avoid to close the holes at all. Please share it in the comments. I will be very happy to hear from you. And thank you. That's it for today. I see you in my next videos.